What is up, guys, and welcome back to another video. And it is time for another update. Senate forecast. It's been, I think, over 2 weeks since we last did one, and so I used to do these every month, but this is just getting so interesting that I feel like I have to do these every 2 weeks, or even come October, come November, I'm probably gonna be doing these every week, maybe twice a week, because stuff changes so much. And by the way, before we start this video, I do want to talk about Kansas. There's the primary happening there. Because if Chris Kobach wins the primary, this is going to be going to the Democrats, I think. However, if it's Roger Marshall or Bob Hamilton, it'll probably be staying with the GOP. So, yeah, Democrats are probably going to root for Kobach to win. The GOP establishment is going to probably root for Marshall to win that primary. And also, it's worth noting that Kobach is probably going to win, and I'll be live streaming for that. So, guys, please do tune in 7:15 Pacific time, 10:15 p.m. Eastern time. So, yeah. All right. So we're gonna get started and fill out our safe states. So Oregon's gonna be safe for the Democratic Party. Now, I do expect Jeff Merkley to overperform expectations, or to overperform Joe Biden in this state. And also New Mexico's going to be safe, and I also expect the Democrat here, Ben Ray Lujan, to overperform Joe Biden here. See if we can pull this up. So I don't know why the Republicans ran. They should have ran. So what they should have done was run Eliza Martinez, because she had Latino appeal, she had Native American appeal, and she was going to get the Republicans on her side. So that could have actually been somewhat competitive if it was Eliza Martinez, and I thought it was going to be her, but instead they actually, the primer actually, let's see if I can pull this up. Okay, so let's go back to here. So, okay, so let's go to New Mexico. I think actually, where's New Mexico? Of course, I can't find it. So I think that okay, wrong tab. Sorry. Okay, so here it is. Anyways, so Ron Chetty actually won this by a pretty good margin. He beat Eliza Martinez by a good amount. And then Gavin Clarkson, a professor from the from New Mexico State. I don't know. I couldn't think of that. Came in last. So yeah. So I spent a lot of time on that. And Illinois could be safe. I'm not going to talk to that yet. Virginia's actually going to probably vote left of Illinois in the Senate elections. I mean, it's the Republicans are running anyone good there. It's Daniel Gade. He's an okay candidate, but he doesn't have a ton of name recognition. It's going to hurt him against a pretty popular senator, Mark Warner, who is not too unpopular. Now, there could be a scandal that happens because of Virginia Democrats generally being pretty corrupt. But do remember that Virginia spoiled the Virginia 2018 Senate race, where Tim Kaine, he was the incumbent. He won re-election by a safe margin against Cory Stewart. And Stewart actually is more well-known than Gade is. Plus, Kaine, he ran on a non-popular ticket with Hillary Clinton, and he still won by 16%. Yeah. And then we're going to Delaware's going to be safe. Lauren Witzke is a very far right-wing politician who I don't think is going to be able to beat Chris Coons. In New Jersey was somewhat close in 2018 because of Bob Menendez being so unpopular, but again, it won't be like that anymore. Massachusetts, I'll probably go live for that primary in September. It's the last primary that's happening. And yeah, so it's 42 seats for the Democrats. I don't think I'm missing anything. The Republicans are going to go whip through this. Nebraska especially. I'm actually pretty, I'm generally independent, but I do identify more with the Democrats. I will actually be rooting for the Republican in Nebraska on election night. So all these states are going to be safe. Tennessee was actually competitive in 2018 because a popular governor ran there against Marsha Blackburn, but it won't be that competitive this time around. Arkansas, Democrats aren't even running anyone, although there is a progressive independent, but he's not officially a Democrat. it won't get any funding from them really. Oklahoma, Abby Broyles, I don't think she'll be able to win. Louisiana, Bill Cassidy is going to win re-election. And yeah, I'm going to leave it at that. So, oh yeah, in West Virginia now, if they're if the Democrats like if they're running Richard Ojeda, then I could actually see them making this somewhat competitive. But I want to see if I can. It's not going to come out. West Virginia 2020 Senate primary. So, anyways, Ojeda is a much stronger candidate than Paula Jean, because Paula Jean's origin is very, very progressive, and yeah, she's winning in places that they need higher. These are all going to go right. So that was Ojeda was a strong candidate, is what I'm trying to say here, and I feel like I'm missing one seat. Yeah, I think I'll leave it at that. Okay, so all right, so that's 39 seats for the Republicans, 42 for the Democrats. Now these seats are competitive. We're going to start off on the West Coast. Colorado is going to be likely. I don't even know why people are saying that Cory Gardner is a chance. I mean, Cory Gardner is so unpopular. Let's see, most unpopular senators. Cory Gardner only has a 37% approval rating, and he's in a state that Trump. Let's see, Civics, where are you? Donald Trump, he has like a negative 25 net approval in Colorado, I think. I mean, look, he has a negative 22% net approval in the state of Colorado. Like, that's just abysmal. And Cory Gardner is running, like, he's a pro-Trump Republican who is, no way he's going to be able to win on the back of Trump. And, I mean, when you look at all the polling, Cory Gardner, even when they have, bad polls, they're putting him behind consistently. Like, there's not a single way you can find, except against this guy Johnston, who I still don't know who that is. That was back in September. Cory Gardner's not going to be able to gain traction, and we're not going to see him winning here. Let's also see governor. Okay, so Colorado governor race, Jared Polis did pretty well, even though Stapleton, the Republican, threw a ton of money at him, said, here, you'll win this governor's race, and he still got crushed. Okay, so yeah, I think that's it. But the bottom line is Cory Gardner is unpopular and doesn't really stand a chance. Arizona is also going to be pretty not too competitive. Remember the Arizona, that's weird. Is kind of a it's more moderate than not, especially because we're talking about Mark Kelly running against a more right wing candidate, Martha McSally, and I guess that you could say that McSally's the incumbent, but she lost her 2018 Senate bid against Kirsten Sinema, who, by the way, is one of the most moderate Democrats in the U.S. Senate. So Maricopa County was the deciding factor, and Sinema won it by 60,000 votes compared to in 2016. Donald Trump, he ended up winning it by 30,000. So Sinema, she did way better than Trump did in Arizona, especially in turnout. So we're not going to really. I mean, I'll be honest. I don't think that McSally has a chance. Again, she's pretty unpopular, more right wing than not, and she's been behind in every single poll you can find, whether it be Redfield and Wilton Strategies, behind by 18 Change Research, Morning Consult, CNN, Marist. A+ rated poll, so sampling registered voters puts Kelly ahead by 12, and Kelly's probably going to outperform Joe Biden in the state. Now we're gonna the trifecta, as I like to call it. So let's talk first about Illinois. Willie Wilson is running as a third-party candidate. He ran for mayor of Chicago. He's a black. He really has an independent, but he's more Democratic than Republican. So he's only going to take away votes from Dick Durbin. That being said, Durbin is going to win re-election, although he has a pretty decent opponent, Mark Curran, who is looking to unseat him. Curran is actually a former Democrat who is pro-life and then left the party. And we're going to talk about Minnesota for a bit. This could be safe, and I actually would not be surprised if Minnesota voted to the left of Illinois at the Senate level. Let's see, Minnesota. Yeah, so they give Tina Smith a 95% chance of winning here. Jason Lewis is okay. He's too establishment to win Minnesota, to be honest with you. In Michigan, John James is a good Republican candidate because he is black and he is going to increase black turnout for the Republicans. And usually in the midterms, the Republicans only got like 5% of the black vote. But like the polling is really bad for John James. I mean, like it wasn't too great for him in 2018, but remember he lost in Australian Gary Peters in virtually every poll you can find. Also, I do want to talk about let's actually talk about his race, where he lost to Debbie Stabenow by around 7 or 6 points, 6.5 points basically. Stabenow, she actually did way better than Hillary Clinton here, even though Stabenow is somewhat of an establishment candidate. Just shows you that Michigan is a very blue state, and Michigan is going to go to the Democrats in 2020. It never was going to go to the Republicans. I mean, sure, you can say that Trump has a Rust Belt appeal, but he's lost a lot of that appeal since 2016. And that's going to lead to Joe Biden winning Michigan by a likely margin as well. And just generally speaking, Gary Peters is a pretty popular incumbent. Let's find his see how popular he is. Gary Peters. He hasn't been insanely popular, but he's still doing pretty well. Doing pretty well with independents, and doing pretty well with Democrats. So he'll stay with the Democratic Party. Now, I know John James. He has a political future, but I don't think if I were John James, I'd be running for House because he lost in 2018 to a Senate bid against a popular senator, and now he's running against another popular senator, Gary Peters. So if I'm John James, I'm running for House, maybe a state legislature or something, and then he can build up his political resume to become a rising star. Because if I were John James, I wouldn't want my aura of starship to go bye. And New Hampshire, I'm not going to talk a ton about this race because it's not going to be competitive. Now, some people are characterizing it as lean, but do remember that Gene Shaheen is very popular, running against Don Bullock, who don't. I think they actually held okay, they haven't held the primary yet. Let's see. Where's New Hampshire? Okay, it's TB. Just they haven't held the primary yet. I want to see when the primary is. September 8th. Okay, so Gene Shaheen's going to win the primary for the Democrats, and the Republicans. Oh, Corky Messner is actually winning. So I think it's actually going to be Corky Messner then, because if in the polling he's ahead of Don Bullock. So I thought so in my election nights I usually have Don Bullock losing to Gene Shaheen, but it looks like it'll be Corky Messner. So anyways, New Hampshire is not going to be competitive this time around. Yeah, I know that they do have a popular GOP governor who's running, but he's a liberal Republican and he's going to get Democrat votes. And he's not going to sway any Republican voters to also go for any Democrats to also go against Gene Shaheen. So yeah, and now we're going to talk about our likely Republican states. I'm not going to touch Alaska just yet. I'm going to touch Texas though, and I've been getting a lot of hate in my comment section for this. Because Texas, it's trending blue, and by 2024, it'll probably be a tilt. GOP state could even be a toss. It could be lean. But I keep putting Texas as likely Republican at the presidential level, at the Senate level. But we have to remember that people say, oh, Beto O'Rourke is, he's a pretty he ran a very good campaign and came close to beating Ted Cruz. Yeah, he did. And I remember watching that on midterm election night saying, oh my gosh, Beto O'Rourke has a lead in Texas. Is this going to hold up? But I'll be real with you guys here. I'm not a fan of John Cornyn. I think he's borderline racist, but he's not going to lose because remember Ted Cruz John Cornyn has a much higher approval than Ted Cruz. Let's compare them. Ted Cruz in 2018, he had a plus 14% approval, whereas John Cornyn, he right now plus 19. So again, that's a 4-point margin, but he's also doing pretty well with independents. He'll get some of the blue dog Democrats on his side, and I know MJ Heger is a decent candidate, but she's not even close to Beto O'Rourke. And no, the same polls that are putting Joe Biden ahead in Texas. I mean, let's look Cornyn ahead by pretty decent margins, some even safe margins. Let's go president general election. These polls are putting Joe Biden ahead. They're having Biden outperforming MJ Heger by 10, 11, 12 points. And that's not good. Not a good time for her in a race that she's already favored to lose. So yeah. Also, I do want to talk about the governor race where Greg Abbott, who was pretty popular back then, won easily. He won by a safe margin. So don't tell me that Texas is at the Texas is about to flip, because it's not. It's still a red state, and I expect it to go red unless Joe Biden has a miracle and wins this state. So now we're gonna go to Mississippi, and this was somewhat close in. Um, let's see, special election runoff. It was somewhat close in 2018 because Mike Espy got 46% of the vote there and had high black turnout. And I think that he actually could make this a lean state, because presidential election years, Black Lives Matter is going to make higher black turnout for the Democrats, especially someone like Mike Espy, who is black, by the way. But I don't really think that we're going to see Mike Espy winning this in the presidential election year, because Mississippi is pretty partisan. Plus, Trump is pretty popular here, so. Yeah, I don't think the Democrats are going to win here. Mike Espy's he's probably the strongest Democrat you're going to find in Mississippi. He's just not going to win because it's Mississippi. Alabama, Doug Jones is the incumbent. He actually narrowly won. Let's see, 20. Let's see. Let's go back here to Alabama. Okay, don't do New Hampshire. We got to find Alabama. Alabama. Let's find Alabama. Where's Alabama? Oh, it's at the top of the alphabet. I'm dumb. Yeah, Alabama. So, why did it take me to Nebraska? That was not helpful at all. Alabama. Doug Jones is going up against Tommy Tuberville, who formerly won the nomination against Jeff Sessions. Now, Doug Jones is the incumbent because he ran against a pedophile named Roy Moore, who, it was actually very emotional for Doug Jones to actually win that race, because he was expected, to lose, because this is Alabama. But he actually won that race, by 22,000 votes, and he ended up being the first Democrat to serve in the U.S. Senate in Alabama since dinosaurs roamed the earth. So, congrats to Doug Jones. He won a race against the worst opponent imaginable. But now he's going up against Tommy Tuberville, who, he coached Auburn, and Auburn and Alabama don't like each other, but he's going to be, he's a pretty likable guy. Seems like an honest man to me, even though I don't love his policies. But he'll win this race, especially because, generally looking at the polling, I don't think we're going to see Tommy Tuberville losing to Doug Jones. Yeah, Doug Jones is an incumbent, and that's why I have it as likely and not safe, but, he's not going to win re-election, especially in a presidential election environment in Alabama. Yeah, so we're also going to go to Kentucky. Now, JHK Forecast does not like Amy McGrath for some reason. She has a better chance at winning this race than 0.7%. I don't even know what they were, She has a good chance at winning this race for a Democrat in Kentucky. And I know you want to talk about Allison Lundergan Grimes, but in 2014, but she ran a bad campaign, and that was a red wave year, so it's going to narrow up. Definitely. But again, this is Mitch McConnell. See, I know Mitch McConnell is the most unpopular senator in the United States Senate because of how partisan he is and just how unlikable he is. But the Republicans, they're gonna hold their nose, and they're gonna vote down ballot, and they're gonna say, fine, I'll vote for Mitch McConnell, because they just can't stand the idea of a Democrat in the Senate. Now, again, Amy McGrath is going to be able to do better than Allison Lundergan Grimes, because she can get those conservative Democrats who elected Andy Beshear to the governor's mansion. So yeah, she'll outperform Joe Biden here because she's more conservative than Joe Biden. But again, she says stuff that is not great. She has to. There are some Charles Booker voters who are going to stay home and not vote for her, which I think is dumb, because Charles Booker voters who are just going to say, I don't like Amy McGrath. Staying home in Kentucky as a Charles Booker voter is basically a vote for Mitch McConnell. But there are also going to be people who are going to say, well, Amy McGrath, she compared Donald Trump winning the election to 9/11, which is pretty bad of a comparison. But that's not going to fly in a place like Kentucky, is what I'm trying to say. I'm also going to put Georgia Special as likely, could even be safe. All of these, Kentucky could be safe, Mississippi could be safe, Alabama could be safe, Texas could be safe, Georgia Special could be safe. But I'm not going to really talk about it that much, just because it's a special election jungle primary. Doug Collins is going to win. Bottom line, I don't really expect him. And I know the Democrats, they came close to winning the Georgia governor race. but no, okay, not Florida, Georgia, or Kemp beat Abrams. And like if this was a fair election, Stacey Abrams would 100% be governor of Georgia right now, but it wasn't, and it's not going to be this time around. So it'll be likely. Same with Jaime Harrison in South Carolina, trying to upset Lindsey Graham. I know Lindsey Graham is kind of like Ted Cruz in that he's partisan, and no one really likes him, but he's gonna win because South Carolina is a very partisan state. It's not like Montana where down ballot isn't bad, but you know, Jaime Harrison, there was a poll that came out how to even. I really don't think that we're going to see Harrison being able to beat Lindsey Graham, especially in a presidential election environment in a state like South Carolina. And I know he's out fundraising him. The 2018 South Carolina governor's race was relatively close. I mean, it was a likely margin for Henry McMaster, but we're not gonna. I really don't think that Harrison has a chance of winning this. So yeah. So that's 45 seats for the Republicans, 48 for the Democrats. Now we're going to go over to lean states, and I'm only going to characterize two as lean. You can probably figure out what they are. Maine, Susan Collins is so unpopular. Like, it is absolutely insane that she went from the most popular senator in the United States behind Bernie Sanders to the most unpopular. Just because, she's like, just, no way that she wins the Democrat vote. She wouldn't win she had, I'll be honest, she had one one GOP vote too many because she voted for the tax bill that was unpopular with the GOP. She voted to confirm a sexual predator to the Supreme Court just because she was conservative, and that's not going to fly any state like Maine in a presidential election year. And Maine is not that Maine a how do they okay. Anyways, Maine they did not they flipped the seat in the governor's mansion in 2018. Now, I know Paul LePage didn't run for a third term because he couldn't, but Janet Mills actually won by a decent amount for a flip. So yeah, we're not gonna. I don't think that, to be honest, Susan Collins is dead in the water, but she's pretty close to it because I see a lot of people in the comment section of my videos or other politics channels video. I live in Maine. Susan Collins does not stand a chance, just because of how polarizing she has become. She went from a very independent senator to a Republican senator, and that's going to hurt her in the presidential election year in a state like Maine. And our last lean state, I'm upgrading North Carolina from tilt Democratic to lean Democratic. And this is because, for some reason, let's go to North Carolina. Cal Cunningham is consistently running ahead of Joe Biden in the polling, plus 9, plus 11. And let's go back to like April or March of 2020. He was only up by, consistently like 1-2 points. Let's go back to April. Tell us what was up by 4 in that poll. Now Cunningham is up by 9, 11, 12, 8, 9, 9, 9, 8, 1, 3, 7. The last poll that had Tillis ahead was the same poll that put Martha McSally ahead, that has sample size of 600 voters. That oh my goodness, that's not a credible poll. It only had him ahead by 1. So this is going to be lean. Also, I mean, Donald Trump is just constantly losing popularity in North Carolina, and Tillis is very partisan. He's also pretty unpopular. If you want to talk about how his approval, North Carolina always has like this weird trend of electing one-term senators. Right now, he's doing horribly with independents. That's going to cost him. Cal Cunningham is he's like your average just politician who seems like a good guy. Let's talk about the Senate. Okay, no Senate races. Also, the Democrats did pretty well in the House in Virginia, or in North Carolina. So yeah. So and also, I mean, talk about Joe Biden probably going to win North Carolina. Cunningham is running ahead of Biden because on average Cunningham's ahead by 9, 10. Biden's only ahead by 2, and yeah, that's still a good lead in a state like North Carolina. It's going to be razor thin, but we're not gonna. I don't think that we're gonna see a state like North Carolina go to Cal Cunningham by a likely margin. Now I know that Let's Talk Election said this is a likely state. I know that the data does reflect that. It's not a crazy prediction, but North Carolina is always going to be competitive, and I'm just going to say it's lean for this at this point in time. Lean states for the GOP. There are only two. Well, that just spoiled everything. But Alaska, first of all, and the polling actually has been pretty weird. I know Dan Sullivan is the favorite to win, but the polls have Sullivan by 13, by 5. I don't even know who Dunbar is. But the polls that generally, Al Gross, he's an independent. He'll get the Democrat vote, and there is a third party candidate running who's going to take away votes from the Republicans. But I'll be real with you guys. I don't expect Al Gross to flip this seat. Now I know Dan Sullivan does not have a ton of name recognition. He's not crazy popular. In fact, he was unpopular at one time. But he'll just win because people don't know who Al Gross is. And also, 2018, the Democrats had a pretty strong candidate running for governor in Alaska, Mark Begich. Uh, you know, Mark Begich, he ended up losing this race narrowly to Mike Dunleavy, and I think that Al Gross is going to come close to winning this, but he won't be able to because this is Alaska of all places. And Georgia's normal election, I like to call it because it's not special. I just want to see. Let's go back to the Senate. We want Senate. Senate forecast, please. Okay, so Alaska, they give Sullivan a 5% chance of losing. Let's see Georgia special. Georgia's normal. They gave him a 28%. Yeah, I don't know why. Ossoff is a strong campaigner, and I think that he should run for governor in 2022. Him or Stacey Abrams because of Brian Kemp being so unpopular at this point in time. But I'll be real. I haven't seen a poll that has Ossoff ahead in a while. There was one that had him ahead on July 22nd. But I think the Democrats are overhyping this race, and if Stacey Abrams wins, this would probably be a toss-up type race, kind of like Montana or Iowa. But I don't really think we're going to see Ossoff being able to carry this just because of voter suppression and because he's not Stacey Abrams. And he's running against David Perdue, who's pretty well liked in the state. So, yeah. And now we're going to go to our tilt states, starting off with the state of Montana, which I really, I'm getting more and more confident that Steve Bullock's going to win. And I know there was a poll that came out that had Steve Daines ahead, and I do actually want to talk about that. I don't know why I couldn't get that out. And I actually saw this and I was like, wait, Daines ahead by 6, because before that, Bullock's been consistently ahead, in all these polls, even ahead by 7 at one point. And back in May, the Republicans had a decent chance at maintaining the Senate. Now they are definitely not the favorites. But Steve Bullock running behind Steve Daines in this poll, these are only likely voters, first of all, and there's only 500 voters. And, this is a pretty good poll, and I do generally trust it, so I'm not being a hypocrite here just because I want Steve Bullock to win. But I'm saying that the sample size isn't good, and, I don't like, for example, this poll it is not a good sample size. This poll is not a good sample size. The best poll in terms of rating and sample size is this one. It puts Bullock ahead by 2. And if they were to see something like that, where Bullock's going to win by something like 2, I would not be surprised if he does run up the numbers and win by a lean margin, because he is a popular governor. And let us not forget that he won in a presidential election year in 2016. He beat Greg Gianforte for the governor's mansion. And I know a governor's race and a Senate race are not the same thing, in that, Kentucky elected Andy Beshear as governor, and if you're in the Senate, he'd get destroyed. Yeah, that is true. And, talk about Phil Bredesen in Tennessee. He won every single county when he ran for governor, but didn't do too well when he ran for Senate. That's because Tennessee is a very partisan state. Montana, he won in the 90s. He won back when Tennessee was a swing state, back when, Al Gore was a senator from there, back when Bill Clinton was partying in Nashville. That's not the case anymore. And I also want to talk about the fact that Montana sent a Democrat to the Senate on the same ballot that Mitt Romney won that state by. How much did he win it by? 20 points. Then I'm talking with John Tester, and Tester's pretty popular, but Bullock is even more popular. So, yeah. I'm also going to talk about Kansas. Kansas, if it's Roger Marshall, I'll put it as likely for the Republicans. If it's Chris Kobach, it'll be Tilt. And I'm assuming it's going to be Kobach because he has more support than Marshall. Because, the polls are kind of weird in Kansas, but the most recent poll on June 2nd, that was a long time ago, puts Barbara Bollier. It's not Boiler, it's not Bollier, it's not Bollier, it's not Boyle, oh my gosh, it's Bollier. Bullier. It's Bullier, like Bullier. I don't know why. Bullier is ahead by one over Hamilton. Talking about Kobach, and there was a poll that came out that said a third. If Chris Kobach is the nominee, then a third of Republicans would vote for Barbara Bollier. You can have a third of your party voting for the other candidate, and remember, Barbara Bollier, she'll get all the support from independents, nearly all of them, because she was a former Republican. She'll get an additional. She'll get all the support from the Democrats, and she's going to get a ton of money from Chuck Schumer because they do not want to say Chris Kobach, who is a very far right wing politician in the Senate. So that being said, we're going to see if it's Kobach, Barbara Bollier will be the next senator from Kansas. And I say that with a lot of confidence because remember, Chris Kobach, he has a bad record in Kansas. He ran for governor. He lost to Laura Kelly, who's more progressive than, who's much more progressive than Barbara Bollier. And there was a third party who was a former Democrat, Greg Ormond, who took away 6.5% of the vote, took away votes from Kelly. So I say with complete confidence that Chris Kobach is a really bad choice for the Republicans. And I'm going to make a bold call here, and I don't like to do this a lot, because a 53 to 47 Senate majority is going to be crazy. But I'm going to characterize Iowa as a tilt Democratic state at the Senate level. And I do not like to do this. Back in April, when I had my channel at the start, this was a likely Republican state. But let's just talk about this state in general. So Teresa Greenfield has her chances are improving day by day, according to JHK forecast. I mean, it was it's gotten so narrow. It was like she had 30% chance back in March. Now, guess what? She's at a 45% chance. That's just a really bad sign for Joni Ernst. Plus, Joni Ernst is pretty partisan, pretty unpopular. She said, "Let's make him feel I'm not part of the establishment at all," and she's been part of the establishment. And I know the Republicans, they won the governor race in Iowa, but I'll be real with you guys. Kim Reynolds is much more popular than Joni Ernst is in the state. And let's talk about the House for a second. And I know this is going to glitch because there are 435 House districts, but let's go to Iowa. So that 4th district is not going to be competitive. I know J.D. Schulten is a pretty good candidate, but he's running against Steve King, who's a racist, and Steve King lost the primary to Randy Feenstra. Feenstra's going to win by, likely margin against J.D. Schulten. The Democrats flipped a seat here, and they flipped a seat there. Cindy Axne, she won her seat, beating David Young, and Abby Finkenauer beat Blum, and then where's Miller? Okay, Miller Meeks, wrong district. But anyways, the Democrats won the popular vote in the House. Let's see full state results. Iowa House. In the House, I want to see the total popular vote. I just want to see the total popular vote. Okay. All right. So for some reason, okay, whatever, CNN. So the popular vote, Democrats won the popular vote in Iowa in the House during the midterms. And the House and Senate are pretty similar in that you vote for candidates at the federal level. And Teresa Greenfield is starting to go ahead of Joni Ernst in the polls. And no, Iowa is probably going to go for Donald Trump, but Joni Ernst is more established than Trump. And, back in, let's go to April, Joni Ernst was ahead by 25. She wouldn't win by 25, but back in May, ahead by 1, ahead by 6. Now Greenfield is running up the score here, and she could very well win this by a lead margin. Could go to Ernst, and I'm not counting her out, but I'm going to flip the seat, and I'm getting more and more confident that the Democrats are going to win the Senate, and that they're going to flip, that they're going to win Iowa. So thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed this. Be sure to like the video and subscribe. Check out my election nights. I released a CNN Joe Biden best case scenario election night, and I released a Fox News Donald Trump best case scenario election night. So please be sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and share it with your friends. And if you want to, please donate to my Patreon, and you can get perks and benefits along with it. So this is super long. I don't know why, but thanks, guys, and I'll see you all in the next one.